Linda woke up at exactly 12:14 in the morning, her heart pounding for no reason she could explain. No noise had startled her, no dream she could remember. She just sat straight up in bed, wide awake, with one overwhelming thought pressing down on her chest. Something is wrong with Jake. Jake was her 24-year-old son. They hadn't spoken in almost 6 months. Not since the fight that ended with him walking out of her house and telling her not to call him again. She didn't know where he was living. She didn't know if he was safe. All she knew in that dark bedroom at 12:14 in the morning was that every part of her being was screaming that her son needed her right now. She got out of bed, sank down onto her knees on the cold hardwood floor, and started to pray harder than she had ever prayed in her entire life. What happened over the next several hours would later be confirmed, detail by detail, in a way that left even the doctors shaking their heads. This is Linda's story. Jake hadn't always been the son who slammed doors and screamed things he couldn't take back. He had been a sweet boy growing up, the kind who brought his mother dandelions from the yard and called her every single day when he went away to college. But somewhere along the way, things changed. It started in his sophomore year, when a knee injury ended his baseball scholarship and a doctor's prescription for pain pills opened a door that never should have been opened. Linda watched, helpless as her bright, funny son slowly disappeared behind a version of himself she barely recognized. The addiction crept in quietly at first, then all at once, the way it always seems to. She spent years trying everything: interventions, rehab programs he walked out of early, tearful late-night phone calls where she begged him to get help, followed by silence that could stretch for weeks. She emptied her savings account twice trying to help him. She lay awake more nights than she could count, staring at the ceiling, wondering where he was sleeping, whether he'd eaten, whether he was even still alive. The final fight happened on a Sunday afternoon. Jake had shown up at her house needing money, and when she refused, something ugly and desperate took over him. He said things that afternoon that cut so deep she still couldn't repeat some of them out loud. Things about her being a terrible mother, about wishing he'd never had to come home to her, about not wanting her in his life at all. She had cried herself to sleep more nights in the 6 months that followed than she could count. She prayed for him constantly, of course, the way any mother would. But somewhere in those months, exhaustion had worn her prayers down into something quieter, more resigned. A hope that had gotten tired of hoping so hard. Until that night at 12:14 in the morning, when something jolted her awake with a certainty she couldn't ignore. Linda says she has never in her life felt anything like what came over her in that moment. It wasn't a vague worry. It was a physical, overwhelming urgency, as if someone had reached into her chest and pulled tight on every nerve connected to her son. She knelt down on her bedroom floor, hands pressed together so hard her knuckles went white, and she began to pray out loud, her voice shaking in the empty room. Lord, I don't know where my son is right now. I don't know what's happening to him. But you see him right now, wherever he is, and I am asking you, I am begging you to protect him. Send your angels to him right now. Don't let anything happen to him before he has the chance to come home. Please, God, please cover my son. She says she prayed like that for almost 45 minutes straight. Tears streaming down her face, sometimes with words, sometimes with nothing but sobs and the name Jesus repeated over and over. She wasn't sure exactly what she was praying against. She just knew, with a certainty that felt placed there by something outside of herself, that her son was in danger, and that this was not a moment for a quiet, polite prayer. Somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning, exhausted, her voice hoarse, she finally felt something shift. That same overwhelming urgency that had woken her began to ease, replaced by an unusual, settled peace. She didn't know why. Nothing had changed on the outside, but something told her the worst had passed. She climbed back into bed and, despite everything, fell into a deep, dreamless sleep. Her phone rang at 6:45 that morning. It was a number she didn't recognize, a hospital to states away. Her heart dropped as she answered, bracing herself for the worst. It was a nurse, calling on Jake's behalf because he had listed her as his emergency contact years ago and never updated it. Jake was alive, but he had overdosed the night before. Alone in an apartment, he'd been crashing in with some acquaintances. A roommate had found him unresponsive on the bathroom floor and called for help. Linda asked the question with her whole body shaking. What time did this happen? The nurse checked the intake records. The call had come in at 12:31 in the morning. Paramedics had arrived and administered emergency treatment within minutes, reviving him just in time. The nurse said honestly, in a tone that suggested she'd seen this outcome go very differently more times. Then she wanted to remember that a few more minutes without intervention likely would have been fatal. Linda sat frozen, the phone against her ear, doing the math in her head. She had woken up at 12:14. She had been on her knees pleading with God by roughly 12:20. The roommate found Jake and called for help at 12:31, right in the middle of the exact window she had spent on that floor, praying with everything she had in her. She wasn't in the room. She was to states away, with no possible way of knowing what was happening to her son at that exact hour. But something had woken her at precisely the moment he needed help, and had kept her on her knees praying until, by all timelines she could later piece together, paramedics were already working to save his life. She drove through the night to reach the hospital. When she walked into his room and saw him lying there, pale but breathing, machines quietly monitoring his heartbeat, she broke down at his bedside the same way she had broken down on her bedroom floor hours earlier. Except this time, the tears were tears of overwhelming, humbled gratitude. Jake, still groggy, looked over at her and, for the first time in 6 months, said her name softly, like a question. Mom, she took his hand. I'm here. Baby, I'm here. God woke me up for you last night. Jake stayed in that hospital for days, and something in him, something that had been closed off for years, seemed to crack open during that time. Maybe it was the fear of how close he had come. Maybe it was hearing his mother describe, through tears, exactly what had happened on her bedroom floor at the precise hour he needed her most. Whatever it was, when Linda gently brought up the idea of a treatment program again, for the first time in years, Jake said yes. The road since then hasn't been instant or easy. Recovery rarely is. There have been hard days, honest days. Days where Jake had to face the wreckage of the years he'd lost. But he's been sober for 8 months now, living in a sober living community, working a steady job, and calling his mother every single Sunday, just like he used to when he was away at college. Linda says that phone call from the hospital changed the way she understands prayer forever. She always believed God heard her prayers, but that night taught her that he doesn't just hear them from a distance. He moves in the exact moment, in ways that connect across miles and circumstances no human being could orchestrate on their own. I used to think I had to know exactly what to pray for, exactly what was happening, before God could act. Linda says, that night taught me I don't need to understand the situation at all. I just need to respond when he wakes me up. He knew what my son needed before I did. He just needed me to get on my knees and trust him with it. Maybe tonight, something has stirred inside you too. A name that keeps surfacing in your mind. A restlessness you can't quite explain. A pull toward prayer for someone you haven't spoken to in a long time. Someone you've lost touch with. Someone whose face keeps appearing behind your eyes for no clear reason at all. Linda's story is a powerful reminder that those moments are not random. When your heart is stirred to pray for someone, especially in the middle of the night, in the quiet hours when the whole world feels asleep, that stirring may be far more important than you realize. God can reach across any distance, connect any two hearts, and move in a life you cannot see. Simply because someone somewhere was willing to get on their knees and ask. You don't need to fully understand what's happening to pray about it. You don't need perfect information or a clear picture of the situation. All you need is a willingness to respond when that urgency rises up inside you, to trust that God sees what you cannot, and to bring it to Him anyway, even if all you can say is, "Lord, please cover them. Please protect them. I don't know what's happening, but you do." If someone's name is on your heart right now, tonight, don't brush it aside. Don't wait until morning. Pray for them now, wherever you are, however it comes out. Whether it's polished words or nothing but tears. You may never know exactly what your prayer accomplished on the other end, but somewhere, in a place you cannot see, it may be the very thing carrying someone through their darkest hour. Because sometimes, the most powerful prayers aren't the one